if I've got 3/4, okay? I've got 3/4, and again, what does this 4 represent? It means that the whole, the one whole, is divided equally into how many parts? 4. So if I have one pizza, okay, or one pie, and this is my fraction, how many equal slices am I going to cut it into? 4. I'm going to cut it into 4. I'm going to cut it here and here. Now, if I'm going to give away 3/4 of my pizza, I'm going to give it away to my brothers and sisters. How many pieces of the 4 am I giving away if I'm giving away 3/4? I'm giving away 3. So I'd erase this piece and this piece and that piece. And so now, how much am I left with? I'm left with just one of the 4 pieces. How would I write that? I have one of the 4 pieces. So here I've got 1/4 left, and I gave away 3 of the 4 pieces, or 3/4. And all I'm left now with is 1/4, okay? So go ahead and on a piece of paper, I want you to write an object. You can do a square, you can do a circle, or you can do a number line. But I want you to draw those pictures for the following fractions. 1/4, 2/3, 1/2, 1/3, and 3/4. So I want you to draw this, and what you're going to do is shade the part of the fraction, what the numerator says. You're going to shade those many parts, okay? And then once you come back, we'll take a look at it, okay? So, glad you're back. Let's go ahead and look at this. I've got my circles here. So I've got my circles here, and for this fraction, how many parts am I going to divide my whole into? 4. And here, how many am I going to divide my whole into? That's right, 3. Some of you might be couldn't quite figure it out, but let's pretend like these are equal parts, okay? And let's see here. On this one, how many parts am I going to divide my whole into? 2 equal parts. And on this fraction, how many parts am I going to divide it into? 3. That's right. And notice, it doesn't matter how we divide them up, as long as they're equal. So this is, pretend like this is just as equal as this. Maybe even shave off a little bit so it looks more even. But this is 1, 2, 3 parts. This is 1, 2, 3 parts. So it doesn't always have to be divided like that, okay? And then this last one, how many equal parts is this whole divided into? That's right, it's 4. Let's see if we can draw this like in lines like we did before. So here we've got the 1 part, 2 part, 3 parts, 4 parts. We've got 4 parts, okay? So for this fraction, how many of these equal parts I'm going to shade in? That's right, just 1, because that's what the 1 is. So I'm going to pick one and I'm going to shade it in. And what about this fraction? How many equal parts am I going to shade in? I'm going to shade in the 2. That's what my numerator tells me, is how many parts I have, or how many parts I'm going to shade in, or how many parts I'm giving away. It all depends on how the question is, okay? And let's see what the, how many of these parts am I going to shade in? Right, just one. Just one, okay? And then here, I'm going to shade in the one here. Doesn't even matter which one of them I shade in, as long as one out of the three, or 1/3, is shaded in. And then here, I'm going to shade in 3/4. Ooh, that was bad. All right, we'll shade in this, shade in that, and shade in that. So now notice here, okay? Here I've got one, here I've got one, and here I've got one. So does this mean that one is equal to, that this part is the same size as this part, which is the same size as this part? No. Isn't this one part, again, this is the whole, and this is the one part, isn't this one part smaller than this one part? And why is that? Because the denominator has divided the whole into fewer parts. So each slice of the pizza is way bigger than this one. Just like if you had 1/25 of a pizza, right? If I've got 1/25 of a pizza, how many pieces would this pizza be sliced into? It would be divided into 25 slices. Don't you think each one of those slices would be really small? Yeah. So I'd rather have one of the 2 pieces of pizza or pie than one of the 25 slices, right? Because those are going to be like really small. I'm not even going to, yeah, I mean, I'd much rather have one of these slices, or these slices, than one of these slices. See, just 1/25, a little sliver. Okay, so that's why it's important that you, when looking at fractions, you take a look at what's the denominator. Notice how the bigger the number is, the smaller each what is? Part. Right? The smaller each part is. So here I could have, let's pretend like I've got, 3/25. Well, here I've got 3 of these really small pieces. And here I only have 1 of these 2 pieces. Well, would you rather have 3 of these tiny itty bitty pieces, or 1 of these big half pieces? Huh? Right. So when looking at fractions, if you want to understand which numbers are bigger and which ones are smaller, you got to first look at and remember, doesn't matter how big this number is, as long as the top number is smaller than the bottom number, this whole fraction is less than 1. Less than 1. So even if I had 1/1,000,000, 1/1,000,000, you might think, oh my gosh, that's so big. No, it's not. It just means that the pizza is cut into 1,000,000 even slices. I don't know if you'd even taste it if you had one of those slices. Right? So the bigger this number is, that doesn't mean the bigger the fraction is. That means that each one of these slices is going to be that much smaller. It's going to be tiny. Yeah, I can't even draw how small each one of these pieces would be if this was divided into 1,000,000 pieces, right? So just one of these slices would be like, maybe that, okay? So when you're looking at it, if the bottom number is smaller, that means these parts up here, each one of the parts is going to be bigger. So this number 4 means that it's cut into 4 slices, where this means it's only cut into 3 slices. So each one of these parts up here is going to be bigger. So the smaller this is, the bigger each one of these parts is. So now I've got 2 bigger parts than I've got here. And notice here, this is smaller than the 3. So that means the whole is only cut into 2 parts. So that being said, one of these is bigger than one of these slices, right? Isn't one of these bigger than one of these? So when looking at fractions and figuring out which one's bigger, you first want to look at the denominator. The smaller the number is, the bigger each one of the parts is going to be. Then you need to count up how many parts you have, and that's when you look here. Well, here I've only got 1 part. Here I've got 3 parts. Here I've got 2 parts. But each one of these parts is a different size. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't, please ask your teacher. Raise your hand. Say, I don't get it. But if you do, please help your neighbor.